Hey, what is going on, gamers? Squirrely here. Thank you so much for joining me as always. So hopefully you guys know the drill by now. We have new unusuals that have been added to the Smissmas 2020 update. So it's my job to keep the tradition going, keep my YouTube series going of rating and reviewing all the new unusual effects because all unusuals are cool, even if they're cheap and low tier. But aside from that, I have to talk about how popular I think they will be because traders, we just care about profit, right? Looking cool is one thing, but we guys want to talk about what tier they're going to be, how popular they're going to be, all that good stuff. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, rating and reviewing all the new unusual effects that just came out with the Smissmas 2020 update. Let's get started. First off, we have the 3 new cloud effects, which I gotta say, look really, really good. I mean, there's just so much activity and action happening that we just don't see. Typically with these cloudy effects, these things over your head, they're just very static, they're kind of slow moving, or they're kind of boring and repetitive. These are not like that. They're very active, they're spinning around, there's different colors, different depth you can see in the clouds. You also have sparkles, you also have these big snowflakes falling, leaving a trail. So as far as visually, these look awesome. As far as when it comes to trading though, what tier they're gonna be, I'd probably say more middle tier, middle to lower tier maybe, depends on how many are boxed, of course, only because it's going to be great that you can pick your favorite color and, make a set that matches it better. Maybe you have the blue for more wintry loadouts, like the purplish magenta for like a pink loadout, and you have like your yellow Girardi Storm loadout over here on the far right, the yellow. But when you have more color options, that also means more competition. So if someone likes your effect, but there's 2 or 3 other color variables, it's just more competition that you have to compete with. So overall, it drives the price down because there's too many. In TF2 trading, people like one thing, one cool effect. Less competition is always better. So these will probably end up being middle, lower middle tier, somewhere around there. But these look really, really nice. Next up, we have these kind of spiraling energy effects, which look really, really nice, right? It has that stopping power, which you always want when it comes to unusuals. You want people to stop and look and say, whoa, what is that? And within the first second, when you see a new effect, whether you love it or you hate it, and I think most people would say they really, really like these 2 new effects because the color, the gradient, the color, the spiraling, the sparkles, they look awesome. They look good by themselves, especially if you can combine this with some of the older effects we have. Unfortunately, you can't get, any more miscellaneous hats, but if you can glitch hats together or find another hat that you can wear with this somehow, the combos you can make with this are going to look awesome. Think about like Mystical Medley, some of the other energy effects or orbiting effects. You could really make some cool loadouts, and they still keep the theme of kind of being more like Smissmasy, which is great. So these are probably going to be, one of the more popular effects that came out. I don't think they're like crazy god tier or anything, but probably going to be on the more expensive end and probably more middle high tier if I had to guess. Now we have the 3 different tornadoes. I like to call them the 3 different spinning effects. It's kind of like having a hurricane on top of your head. So I like a lot that they're still wintry themed. They're still around that idea of winter and snow, things like that, but they're not forcing it too much. So it looks really cool. It's simple. It's kind of like a steaming effect that's just spinning around and has snowflakes and some other stuff happening. But it's big. It's colorful. The only thing is I gotta say is probably on maps that are brighter, you might be kind of hard to see it, unfortunately. And there's 3 different color variables. So if I had to guess, it's probably going to be one of the cheaper effects that came out with this update on the lower end. But if you want to make a fun, cheap Smissmas loadout, like a wintry theme, this one is really, really cool. So overall, it's going to be low tier, I believe, but this one is just fun in general. I like this theme a lot, actually. Now we have Vivid Plasma / Searing Energy 2.0, I guess you could say. These effects, 3 different color variations. You guys have already heard me might give my opinion on that. Too many color options, unfortunately, is going to hurt the price. But if you're making combos, you're making effects, that's cool. You can pick a different color. Most people would probably say, the middle one's probably going to be the most expensive or popular, then the one on the far right, the dark green, and then the lighter greenish yellow on the far left. So, and that's only because people like these purples and blues, like Nebula, things like that. But of course, the green and the yellow are going to go good with other effects if you're going to stack them together. So the only thing that's hurting this, I think, is that they're cool, they're simple, you could move this higher on your head maybe to see the effect more, but it really is just vivid / shearing plasma with some more sparkles and like a pool effect going around it. And we have a lot of effects that are very, very similar to this. A lot of effects that are kind of round, expanding around your head. So they're cool, they're simple, they're probably going to be on the lower tier end. They might work up to, lower mid tier overall, depending on how many are unboxed, but they're simple and they're nice. But I think combining these with other unusual effects are going to be when these can really, really shine. And the last new unusual effect when it comes to hats is called Mirthful Mistletoe, which I know you guys are probably thinking I'm going to call this super cheap and ugly and low tier and whatever, but I'm not. We need cheap effects, and not every new unusual can be like the god tier challenger and super bright and sparkly and like fancy and just flashy. We need stuff like this. Now, I'm not usually a huge fan of kind of like the 2D flat sticker objects floating above your head, but this one has a good theme. It's got some activity. It's got a lot of movement. It's got a trail. It's got some kind of like, Smissmas bubbles or whatever coming off it. It also has a red and a blue version for the bow. So I think it's fun. It's simple. It's low tier. It's not going to be expensive probably, but you can already imagine some really fun, cheap kind of holiday loadouts that you're going to run with this. So I'm glad that they added this. It's going to be cheap, and it's just a very fun, simple effect, and it just kind of makes you smile. I don't know. This effect is just simple, but fun and classy, and it just kind of makes you smile. Think about Smissmas. Now we move into the new unusual taunt versions that came out with this update, and we have two different stars, Delightful Star and Frosted Star, which I like that these are so fast and active and spinning, and it's not just kind of like a flat object, sitting above your head or below you. So it kind of looks like you have this power or energy kind of pulling you up. It's also in the shape of a tree, a Christmas tree. And so two different colors, they're fun, they're simple. These are probably going to be, some of the cheaper unusual taunts when they come out and kind of more are unboxed. But I do like this. It's kind of a cool like disco thing happening around your feet, forming a tree and a star. So I think these are going to be low tier, but they're cool. They're still flashy and nice for even a low tier effect. Now we have some unusual effects that are kind of similar to the last one. They're still spinning around, kind of making this Christmas tree around your body, meaning at the top of the star. But obviously they're a lot brighter, more flashy. So they're probably, the more popular, expensive version of the other effects we just saw. But they kind of remind you of more like spiritual or magical or powerful, something like that, like these energy effects spinning around you. But I like that the trails that they make. I think they're fun. They're still probably going to be in the lower tier end, the cheaper when it comes to unusuals. People don't tend to love unusuals that float above your head or just kind of, they look weird when you're moving. When you're standing still, they look fine, but when you're moving, they tend to look a little bit weird. So these are cool. These are nice. They're probably going to end up being, middle, lower tier when it comes to unusual taunts, but very bright for sure. That's one thing I like about these. Very bright. Next up, we have the Dancing Rain Dunicorns, which I don't really say this very often, but come on, this is cute. You guys gotta admit, this is a really cute, unusual effect, which is not usually what you're going for, but I think this works. It totally works. It's TF2, it's silly, it's Smissmas, it's, these balloonicorns running around. So imagine the loadouts you can make with this, with the Santa Heavy, or, a mistletoe bunch above your head, or just anything you can imagine. It's just so much fun. It's TF2. It's Smissmas. It's just perfect. So I like this a lot. I haven't seen this in game yet. I really want to see it actually, especially if you're going full out with, a holiday winter loadout. This one is something you got to have. So it's going to be cheap. It's going to be low tier, but that's okay because it's a really nice, simple, unusual effect. Last on our list, we have what I think most people would agree is the highest tier, the most popular new unusual taunts that came out, which are twinkling lights and shimmering lights. And if this reminds you of another effect that came out a while ago called sparkling lights, and now we have that on taunts, which looks awesome. So depending on, what you're doing in game, I like unusual effects that kind of glow with the character, that follow you, that have a trail, that are bright and kind of shiny and magical, and it looks like you're becoming, in bed with these powers or energy or some kind of magical thing is happening. That has everything with these new effects. So we have a more of a colored version, and also we have kind of like a more white, kind of bright version. So you have two color options. They both look great. They both look awesome. So I feel comfortable saying these will probably be the two most popular and expensive items when it comes to new unusual taunts. And it might become a collector's thing too. I could see these, being gobbled up by collectors, and you might not see very many of them after they've been unboxed after this Smissmas update. So grab them while you can. All right, well, that's all the new unusual effects that came out with the Smissmas 2020 update. I think some people would say, like they did before, that the new unusual taunts kind of stole the show and kind of carried the boat when it comes to unusual effects. The hats maybe weren't as good or as popular as the taunts, but that's okay. We need some variety, and I think something we have to remember is that we are kind of spoiled when it comes to new unusual effects because we have so many new unusual effects come out or that have been added to the list. So not everything has to be god tier or high tier or crazy flashy. The simple stuff, the cheap stuff, the lower middle tier stuff is totally fine because some people just don't want to spend a ton of money, a ton of keys. They just want something simple they can wear with their loadout and they're happy with it. So that's good we got that. The themes are on point, the colors are on point, the variety is pretty good I think overall. So I'm happy with what we got. If I had to give it a final score, I would say maybe an A-, to be honest. I mean, there's solid A to A-. There's nothing breathtaking or god tier, but that's totally fine. I think we got a little bit of everything, which is something I'm happy with. So Now it's time to hear from you guys. Let me know down below in the comments, what is your favorite new effect that came out with the Smissmas update? And don't just pick the one that's the flashiest or the most expensive. Think of one that's like fun or makes you happy, reminds me of Smissmas, because that's what it's all about. So thanks for joining me as always. Also, don't forget to join the Squirrely Squad, my Steam group. I will link you guys to that down below so you guys are notified of all my new videos, giveaways, and fun stuff like that. And keep a lookout for the next video, and keep a lookout in casual too. Maybe you'll run into me on the West Coast server or Uncletopia checking out the new Smissmas map. So take care, see you soon, peace.
He does. That was huge. Oh,